Sausage. Hello everyone, this is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Marc, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Nights into Dreams, or as I like to call it, Nightmares into my eye beams, cause this game fucking sucks! I hate it so much. Anyway, back on script, a game where you do who the fuck knows, and is apparently loved by many, continuing to prove that die-hard Sega fans are weird, and this is coming from someone whose favorite console is the Sega Genesis. Nights into Dreams originally came out on August 20th, 1996 for Sega Saturn and was later released on PS2, PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. I played the Xbox 360 version of the game, which includes both a remastered version and the original version. How they're different, I do not know, but what I played was the remastered version, and it left me with one question. What the fuck did I just play? I'm legit asking you, because the game didn't tell me anything. It just threw me into its batshit crazy world and didn't even bother to say, hey, have fun. Probably because it knew I wasn't going to have fun. Nights is a weird game. It feels like an attempt to combine Sonic the Hedgehog and Echo the Dolphin, two series I overall like, and what we ended up with was fuck it the Borfin, cause Nights is fucking boring. That's not true. Nights is anything but boring. It's a lot of things, but boring isn't one of them. There is so much color and shit happening that it's impossible not to at least appreciate that all this weird shit came out of someone's mind, and if nothing else, the game features a fantastic soundtrack. Seriously, I would buy the shit out of Nights' soundtrack because then I wouldn't have to play the game in order to hear it. Nights is a game I've been curious about for years, a game I've been meaning to play for years, a game I was beyond excited to finally get around to, and it pains me to hate it as much as I do. I gave it an hour of my time, an hour I will never get back, and that was more than enough time to realize I didn't want to waste another second on the game. And I know what Night fans will say, you just weren't playing it the way it's meant to be played. Fine, Wansters, I did it wrong. I'm sorry. But you know what, Wansters? The game didn't tell me how to do it right, so fuck you and fuck Nights for putting it on me to figure shit out when it's the game's responsibility, not mine. Wansters! Wansters! I'm sorry for saying fuck you to both you, the watcher, the listener, and Wansters specifically. I didn't mean it. I meant it when directed towards the game, but not the one directed towards you, the fan of the game. That said, I did enjoy the first boss fight when playing as Elliot, the one where you throw a fat lady through a bunch of walls, but that's where my enjoyment both began and ended. Nights into Dreams was not a dream, but a nightmare for me. A game that brought me sadness in how much it disappointed me, an unabashed but not irrational Sega fan, and anger at how frustrating it was to play. The game's lack of instruction is not surprising given the time period it originally came out, but still annoying when what I played was the Xbox Live Arcade version and not the original release. I quickly figured out what I needed to do thanks to my Twitch chat telling me, and tried to find the fun in it all, but it never became anything other than an excuse to keep listening to the music, which again is fantastic and almost makes the whole thing worth it. Almost. I only heard a few tracks, but if they're all on the same level as what I heard, Nights has a soundtrack on par with games like Katamari, and if you know me, that's the highest praise I can give a game's soundtrack. Don't get me wrong, it's no Katamari, but it's damn good, and I can't recommend Nights into Dreams soundtrack highly enough, if only I could say the same about the game itself. Anyway, that will do it for this episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marc. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PXSausage. If you'd like to see me streaming games like Nights into Dreams, you can do so over at twitch.tv/PXSausage. If you'd like to check out the videos I make, like the one for this here episode of Attack the Backlog, you can do that over at youtube.com/Pixelated Sausage. Speaking of Pixelated Sausage, put a dot and a comma after that, and you've got my website, pixelatedsausage.com, where you can find this podcast and the Pixelated Sausage podcast, both of which are available on podcast services across the globe. You can also check out my art on the site, and if you see something you like, you can purchase a print of the piece you fancy. And if you fancy the site in general and anything that we do, please go over to patreon.com/pxs and support us that way. That's how I ended up playing this game. I was going to keep putting it off forever, but then someone suggested it, and that was the game that everyone voted on. So thank you. Thank you, patrons. I can tell you really like me. You really like me. Oh, it's so sweet. But yeah, you can do that over at patreon.com/pxs. Anyway, that is it. That is all. Thank you for watching or listening, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, dreamy rest of your day.